Jim Schultz here for Calculated Risk. And don't forget, before we get started, the best ways you can help us are by liking the video or subscribing to the channel. Either one of those really helps us out a lot. So you sell an option with a pop of 70% and it loses. You sell another option with a pop of 70% and it loses. You sell a third option with a pop of 82% and it loses. Do those three losers mean that your system is broken? Do those three losers mean that you've got to start over and build this thing back from scratch? Not necessarily. Because at the end of the day, you still haven't given the system, the strategy, whatever you want to call it, the most important element that we all have as active traders. And what is that? It's volume. It's number of observations. Like, you have to give it enough chances, enough tries to really evaluate the effectiveness of whatever it is you might be doing. So that's what I want to talk about here today, kind of housed within this statistical framework referred to as the law of large numbers. Let's go. So to truly understand the law of large numbers, you actually need to back up a step and make sure you understand another statistical theory that is closely related to the law of large numbers, and that is the central limit theorem. The central limit theorem essentially says, it actually says a couple of different things, but the most important thing that I want to draw on here today, it basically says that if you give your distribution, if you give your strategy set enough tries, enough data points in the sample, then the results that you end up having are going to converge on the results that you expected to have in the first place. And the most classic example of the central limit theorem is just flipping a coin, right? If I flip a coin 5 times in a row and I get 5 tails, is that indicative of the probability distribution of flipping a coin? Of course not. If I flip a coin 15 times and I get heads 10 times and tails 5 times, is that indicative of the probability distribution of flipping a coin? No, it's not. But if I flip a coin 10,000 times, how is that going to shake out? It is going to be 50-50. It is going to converge on a 50-50 probability distribution between heads and tails because you've given these independent trials enough observations to shake out to the probabilities of what they should have been all along. Okay, so that's the central limit theorem in 45 seconds or less. But that tells us where we're going. That gives us the destination, but it doesn't necessarily tell us how we're going to get there. And that's where the law of large numbers comes into play. That's where the volume, that's where the amount of observations plays a key role in determining whether you ultimately get to where you're trying to go or you don't. So the law of large numbers is a theorem in probability that is extremely straightforward. It effectively just says, hey, if you feed a large number of observations into a data set, then you're going to get what you thought you should get all along. Like, your results are going to converge on their expected values from the very beginning. Of course, this assumes that the model that you've used to determine what you should get, there's no errors in the logic chain, there's no errors in the reasoning, like the model itself is solid. But assuming that is the case, then with enough observations, you are going to see a convergence of the actual results and the expected results. Now, there are actually 2 forms of the law of large numbers. There's the strong form and there's the weak form. So the strong form version of the law of large numbers essentially says, if you give the data set enough observations, if you feed enough observations into this distribution, then you are going to get what you thought you should get with certainty. There's no wiggle room. There's no chance of error. Like, you are going to get what you thought you should get with certainty. That is a strong form law of large numbers. There's also a weak form law of large numbers. And the weak form law of large numbers essentially says, if you feed enough observations into the data set, you're not going to get it with certainty. Like, we can't guarantee that you're going to land with 100% certainty on the results that you thought you should get. But the chance that your error is significantly large between the expected results and the actual results, that gets closer and closer and closer to 0 as you feed more observations in. It never gets exactly at 0. That would be a strong form law of large numbers. But in a weak form law of large numbers, the distance between the actual results and the expected results are going to shrink down to 0 in terms of the error term. That is a weak form law of large numbers. And so which one of those 2 is going to apply to us as traders? Well, it's always going to be the weak form, because nothing is guaranteed, nothing is promised. I mean, yes, we want to stack as many statistical theories, in our favor as we possibly can. But at the end of the day, like, we don't know what's going to happen. And at the end of the day, there is no guarantee. There is no promise. There is no absolute certainty in this game that we all know and love and call trading. And so the weak form version of the law of large numbers is going to apply to us as active traders that are trying to trade small. We're trying to trade often. We're trying to feed all these observations into the data set, but still, we can never walk away with 100% certainty. The only thing that will give you that is a UST bill. And even that still is at the risk of the US government defaulting. So even that is not necessarily absolute certainty. So when you take the law of large numbers, even in its weak form, and you put it into practice, this is why when you look at like a 30 delta put and you see a theoretical pop of about 70%, when you look at all the tasty research, all the market measures, all the options jives, and just all the content that the research team has pumped out for many, many, many years now, you will see that a 30 delta put doesn't have a realized pop of 70%. It has a realized pop of 71% or 72%. Now that differential, that little kicker on the upside, that's because of implied volatility or overstating realized volatility. That's because of the extra juice from the volatility overstatement. But the fact that the realized results converge on the expected results all along is a product of the law of large numbers. The fact that when you sell a 16 delta strangle with a pop of 70%, you can expect your results to actually churn out to about 70%, maybe even a little bit better because of the volatility overstatement. But again, given enough observations, you're not going to deviate too drastically from what you thought you should get all along. Okay, that all sounds well and good, and you might be thinking, Jim, this sounds pretty solid. But my question for you, this is the question that 120% of you have right now. All right, Jim, how many observations do I need? Like, how many data points do I need to feed into the distribution to actually kind of tap into the powers of the law of large numbers? Is 10 enough? 10 is not enough. Is 25 enough? 25 is not enough. Is 50 enough? 50 is not enough. Is 100 enough? Still not enough. You're getting somewhere, but you're still not quite there. If you look at the research and you look at all the empirical studies that have worked through the law of large numbers and the modeling and the theory and the underlying principles that go behind this theorem, 200 to 300 is when you can reasonably expect your results to begin to converge on their expected values. Obviously, the more the merrier. You get to 500, you get to 1,000, whatever, you're going to see even better convergence and an even less of a deviation between the realized results and the expected results. So that gives you a reference point. Like, that gives you a baseline. But here's the most important thing that I want you to take away from this. Trading is not a race. This is not a competition. Right? You need to make this work for you. You need to make these theories and models work for you. You're not working for them. And so some traders, man, they'll hit 300 trades in a month. Some traders will hit 300 trades in 6 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever. Some traders, it might take them the whole year, and that's okay. Right? It's not right versus wrong. It's not better versus worse. Like, again, you've got to make this fit your style and your risk tolerance and your temperament and the way you like to trade. Don't flip it around and try to squeeze this in to something that doesn't make sense to you, to where now you're just trading just for the sake of trading. You're just putting on trades just for the sake of putting on trades. And man, I got it. Like, I understand, like, trading is fun. It's exciting. It's all these things, but you need to make sure that you understand what you're signing up for. Like, you need to make sure, do you understand the gimmies? Do you understand the gotchas? Do you understand the game plan that you have around that strategy and that trade and what have you? So don't trade just for the sake of trading. Like, make sure that your strategy is in place first, because I can assure you that if things go sideways and you get into a trade or a series of trades that you don't really quite know what's going on and you don't have a plan for when things go wrong, there is no amount of statistical theory that can save you. There is no amount of central limit theorems or law of large numbers that's going to save you in that situation. You are going to be on your own, all alone in the forest, and you're not even going to have any idea what's going on, and I don't want that to be you. So do this at your own pace. It's not a race. It's not a competition. Use these models to help you become a better trader over time, and I'll see you guys next time.